Hello, it's me, Chris. And now for Vlogmas today, I'm going to take you through my books because in the chat on the DLP show a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that Lucy was asked was what were the best books to get if you're having a bit of a look at the history of Disney. Well, I've got a lot of books, so I'm going to take you through them a little bit at a time and give you a bit of an introduction to the books that I use, the ones that I rely on, and some of my favourites. So here we go. So here we go. This is the wide view. These are all my books that I've got that are Disney related. I'm not hiding anything behind that animation book at all, honest. I kind of am. So here we go. Right. First up, we've got Of Muppets and Men. Well, this is a book that I was trying to find for ages. It doesn't come in at under £100. It's a great introduction to the Muppets. It gives you a lot of their history. And it's written by Christopher Finch, who also wrote The Art of Walt Disney. Now that book, that is my Bible. It's the first book that I got, and it's what I used when I started doing the classics show, or when we started doing the classics show. I used this book an awful lot. In fact, I used these three books here an awful lot. These were key to everything that I did when I was researching the animated films for the classic show. So The Studio Story is a great book. What I used this for was I wanted to reference and understand what was happening at the time in the studio. And Richard Hollis and Brian Sibley, who wrote that book, have a great account of the Disney studios through that period of time. So I was able to go in and reference and look at what was going on when different films were being made, which was brilliant. The Animated Characters book by John Grant is honestly and truthfully one of the must-have books for me. It is absolutely brilliant. I think I did a book review on this on the YouTube channel already. What I would say to you right now is if you want to know more about the animated characters, then go and check it out, because every single animated film has pages dedicated to it, which talks about all of the characters in that film. It gives you a bit of an overview of what the film is. It gives you the credits of who was in it and who was involved in making it. It tells you a synopsis, and it even gives you some of the reaction as well, and a lot of John Grant's personal opinion on those particular films. It's brilliant, but it stops at Hercules, and I really wish someone would pick up the mantle and do it for the remaining films, because I think it would be a fantastic thing to have. The Art of Walt Disney, then, again, full account of everything Walt Disney, and it keeps being updated. I relied heavily on an older version of this, in fact this version here. So I relied heavily on this Art of Walt Disney version here, which is the concise edition. This is the first book, one of the first books that I got. I upgraded it to a newer concise edition as well, which I also used regularly. And then maybe a year or so ago, I managed to find a copy of this, still an older copy. I still don't have the most up-to-date copy, but a full copy of it for around £20, which I thought was a bargain. Building the Dream, then. Building the Dream is a great book. It is it gives you a bit of an idea of the architecture of the parks, which is fantastic, and there's some nice pages in there to do with Disneyland Paris as well, which is one of the reasons I wanted it. I actually got it from, I think, Grant Prosser, who's one of our listeners, who got in contact to say that he got a spare copy of it and sent it through the post to us, which is really nice of him. Since the World Began, that's a bit of a history of Disneyland, which is really worth a look at. Art of Animation, another one of my Bibles. This, again, has reference to all of the different animated films, right through to Hercules, I think it is, again. And the Hercules part in this book is brilliant. It's like a full making of the film. I think it's something that came with a special edition of the video when it was released. And if you go back an edition of the Art of Animation, you can get the same for Beauty and the Beast as well, which is definitely worth a look in, and something that I will probably purchase at some point in the future. The Disney A to Z. Well, this is another great book. So the Disney A to Z is exactly what you think it would be. You go in there and you can just flick through and find anything from A to Z, and there's a paragraph of text about it, references to other things. It's a great bog book. If you want to sit on the toilet and learn more about Disney, just start flicking through this book. That's how I use it. Next up are the archives books. Now, Taschen did some fantastic archive books. They come in at about £120 each, I think, brand new, and they're like 3 times the size of these two books here. What they did for the 40th anniversary was release a load of kind of concise editions. All the information is still there. There may be some essays and information missing from them, but they're still a very concise and they're still a very thorough read and well worth a look in. I have these two. I did have the third one, which was the history of Mickey Mouse, but that's one of the prizes that we gave away for our big Patreon giveaway. So I don't have a copy of that anymore. I will probably purchase it again at some point, but I'm still working my way through these two at the moment. The Star Wars archive, I have to say, is absolutely brilliant. Moving on to the next window then. Woo! Here's the next window. This one will be a bit quicker because a big chunk of this is all the same thing, kind of. So we've got Before the Animation Begins, which is another nice little piece around the animation and the concept art and things. It's not the best book in the world, but it is a nice book, well worth a look in. These three here, these are my Disneyland Paris books. So these are the ride attraction books for Pirates of the Caribbean, Phantom Manor, and the most recent one for Space Mountain. You'll have heard me talking about these on the show, particularly when I didn't have them and I was desperate for people to go and get them for me. They are not the best book in the world, don't get me wrong, but it's a nice account of the ride, the history of that ride, any changes that might have happened over the years, and they're very, very nice to look at and very nice to hold. So I would seriously say, have a look at those. They're well worth a look. Next up are these two books. Now, here's a history thing. There is a group called the Hyperion Historic Alliance, and they've started putting out annuals. Now, the 2021 annual is a bit delayed from what I understand, but what these are essays from people like Didier Getz, J.B. Kaufman, Mindy Johnson in this particular issue, and they're just all kinds of great information about Disney. So if you want to read through some really interesting information from the archives from all over the years, they are print on demand books which you get on Amazon and really are well worth a look in. I highly recommend these two editions, and I'm very excited for the 2021, which may well now be a 2022 annual coming out in the not too distant future, fingers crossed. Next, we get to my Mary Blair bit. So this pocket full of colours here, which is the one that I read for one of the other Vlogmas episodes. If you want to see that, then go back to day 7, I think it is, 6 or 7, something like that. And then this is the art and flair of Mary Blair, another John Kane Maker book. Really good account of Mary Blair and her life, really, with some beautiful artwork in there, which is what you'd expect from a Mary Blair book, and really worth a look in. These here, these are my pride and joy. Didier Getz, over the last however many years, has been chronicling the Disney artists through concept art, sketches, and various other pieces, and these books are just beautiful. They are absolutely beautiful. So volume 1 is the Golden Age, and it goes right through to the new Golden Age, which is where Frozen and things start to appear. What I would say is, get in there and have a look. If you haven't seen these before, I think I did a book review of the overall of these at one point, so there might be a video back on the channel somewhere which talks about them. But essentially, every volume focuses on a select few Disney artists. It gives a brief history, to maybe 2 or 3 pages about each of those people, and then it is just pages and pages of beautiful, stunning, fantastic artwork. Just go and have a look at it. It's brilliant. Next up, we're back to Finch again. This, if you want an account of Winnie the Pooh, this is the book to have. So if you want to know more about Winnie the Pooh, get in there and have a look at it. I've already said about Christopher Finch, his Art of Walt Disney book is absolutely brilliant. And this, as a deep dive into Winnie the Pooh, is equally brilliant. So, and you can pick that for a couple of quid, I think. It's not an overly expensive book. Trivia from the Vault. Well, this is a Disney Editions book, and it's lots of questions that have been asked and the answers to them. So another nice bog book, something to dip in and out of and see what you like. You know, it's really good. Then we've got The Curse of Thunder Mountain and Phantom Manor Phenomenon. I've done book reviews of both of these. Ty Cully wrote these books, and he had a plan to do a series of them, which is really sadly not materialised. But it basically went into the rides in Disneyland Paris and submerged you as if you were going into a real world. It was very cinematic in feel, but what I loved about it was less the story around it, but the incredible detail that he went into in room by room within these books, because it made you feel like you were actually there. And when I got the Phantom Manor Phenomenon at Christmas last year and started reading it, I couldn't put it down. Absolutely loved it. Then hiding in the corner here, if we can see it, let's have a look. There we go, is the quotable Walt Disney. That was a free book. When I say a free book, I mean I got it for free because my sister got in contact with me and said, do you want a copy any of these Disney books that I've just seen on Marketplace, and this was one of them. And they wanted £35 for it, and I hadn't seen this book on its own for less than 60. So I jumped at the opportunity to do that. The animation book in the Archive series is fantastic. Any of the Archive series are brilliant, but I only have this one. But again, book full of sketches, absolutely brilliant. I also got with that a Disney sketchbook, which is just a brilliant, brilliant book. And again, highly, highly recommended. So on to my last one. This is kind of my junk drawer, I think. These aren't the things that I refer to on a regular basis. Some of them are kids' books. Some of the things that I've got recently over the last year and I haven't had a chance to have a proper look at. It doesn't mean I don't love them still, because I do. So for instance, firstly, there's a book of maps. This book is maps for the actual films. So it'll show you a film and it'll tell you all the different places that the characters travel to, and shows you bits about the characters and things as well. Brilliant. That's a really nice book, and it's beautifully animated as well. Really, really nice to look at. Then there's the maps of the Disney parks. You might remember Hugh and Lucy got me this for Christmas last year. This is a great book as well. I can just spend hours looking at these maps and all the little details in them, and yeah, it's well worth a look. Another great bog book. Slight downside is the way that it opens, because it can be a bit clunky. It opens through the middle. Again, if you want to know more about this book, I've done a review for that as well in the book reviews on the YouTube channel. There's the Disney book. Everybody has a copy of the Disney book, I think. I think pretty much everybody has a copy of it. It's something that I got before I started doing all of this. We already had it in the house. It's a nice book. I wouldn't say it sets the world alive. It's a DK book. It is what it is. This is Winnie the Pooh, Tales from the 100 Acre Wood. It's just a really nice book. It's a storybook. It's one that Lucas, we got for Lucas for Christmas a couple of years ago. And it's beautifully illustrated, and it's a really nice read. There's my Art of Walt Disney, my OG, which I showed you earlier. A couple of Star Wars and Marvel books, various different things. Nightmare Before Christmas book, that's a making of. But it's a studio making of, so it doesn't go into the gritty detail, but it does give you a lot of interesting information. The Illusion of Life. Now, this is an interesting one to me, because I bought this book about a year ago because I managed to find it for £25, which is unheard of. The general price for this is around £50 to £60. It's in great condition as this particular copy, but I haven't had any chance to sit down and have a proper look at it yet. I was really excited to get it because it's by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, who are two of the Nine Old Men, and so it's something that I'm really keen to have a look at. It's just been something that I've not found the time to sit down and enjoy yet. So I will give you more information about that once I've had a chance to have a proper look at it. A couple more books here. This is a book about Mickey Mouse by Richard Hollis, and this is the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which is also Richard Hollis and Brian Sibley. I think it might both be Brian Sibley as well. Two books again that I purchased earlier in the year and I haven't had a chance to have a proper close look at as yet. But I wanted them from a completist point of view. I very, very much like the studio story, and I wanted to read more of Richard Hollis's work, so that's why I purchased those. This book here, this sums up, or maybe is, my friendship with Bob Sangwell, because Bob got in touch with us at one point and said, "Hi, I've got a spare copy of this book if you'd like it." And he posted that to me, and the friendship began. So yeah, this is the book about the music in Disney's animated features, but it's more than that, because every chapter gives you a bit of the information about what was going on at the time of that film. There's some really nice anecdotes in there, some really nice information. It's a really good read. It's a very, very enjoyable read. And then we've got the Disney Song Encyclopedia. A friend of mine said I should get this book. This is just a list of all the songs, a bit of information about them, and it is just that, an encyclopedia. So if you want to know more about the music, it's a good place to go. It's quite buggy. It's not been particularly well proofread, so it can be quite frustrating at times, but it is a decent book and there's some very, very good information in there. So there you go. I guess that just about sums up my library. There's some great information in there, and if you're interested in knowing more about any of those books, please do give me a shout. I've done book reviews in the past for some of the books, as I've mentioned throughout, but I always wanted to do more. I've never really got around to it. My collection's kind of slowed down recently because when I first started doing this, I just wanted more and more information and I became obsessed and I had a list of books that I wanted to get. And now I've got most of the ones on that list. I do have quite a number of other books on my Kindle. So there's a company called Theme Park Press, which they publish Bob Sangwell's books, but they also used to publish the Ty Cully books that I mentioned before, and there are an awful lot of books under Theme Park Press that are really great, written by great writers, and full of fascinating information, from cruise information to the parks to novels to things about how to make Imagineering work. There's just an absolute wealth, and the history stuff is in there as well. So I decided a while ago that with the print-on-demand books, I was less bothered about having a physical copy. So what I did was I started to buy these on the Kindle. So I've got myself a nice library going, which includes things like Who's Afraid of Song of the South, and the book that Didier Getz wrote about Walt Disney's year in Europe, just things like that. And again, go and check them out. If you get on Amazon and do a bit of a search, you can find all of those books there. Will I add to this library? Probably. I think I'll continue to add. Maybe my passion for this has dwindled a little bit because I keep getting told to stop buying books all the time. But there's always room for one more, isn't there? So let's see what happens. So thanks for listening to me rambling on and on and on. I know Lucy's been doing this, but she's really good at it and I don't do it very often. So it's all very new to me. So I do appreciate it. It won't be me tomorrow, I hope. So you'll be back to Lucy again. Have a nice rest of your day. And I think Lucy will see you tomorrow. Bye.